is Lucy Ann Hurston, and I teach sociology.
When did you come to Manchester Community College?
My very first encounter with this campus was as a student in 1991. Divorced single parent of two, didn't have a clue what I wanted to do, wanted to take some classes just for something to do. And someone suggested to me that Manchester was the best of the community colleges, so bypassing, which was closer to me, Capital, I came out here and was so well received by everybody and bludgeoned to death by the people in the counseling office to go full-time. At 31 years old, I started here as a student, and I graduated 2 years later with my associate's degree, having been inducted into Alpha Nu Gamma, the Foreign Language Honor Society. I took all of my Spanish classes with Dr. Linda Burke, and as a member of Phi Theta Kappa, inducted by Patrick Sullivan into the 2-year International Honor Society. Graduated from here and transferred on and did my bachelor's degree at Central, my master's at the Ohio State University. And then on my way, literally driving home from Ohio State after I defended, I stopped in to see Bill Levy just to say hi. I did it, I made it, and he offered me a section to teach as an adjunct. And I began teaching here in 1998 as an adjunct in the sociology department. And I remember giggling my first day in class when someone raised their hand and said, Professor Hurston. And that's when it really dawned on me that I was a sociology professor. And I've been here as an adjunct until I was hired on full-time. And now I'm chair of the sociology department.
Was it strange making the transition from student to faculty member?
Only when I bumped into what are now called my colleagues, who had been my instructors, my professors, my tutors, my mentors, to still be on campus with them, like you. You know, I had communications with you. I had speech with Chuck Pease. I had Spanish with Linda Burke. To see them now as colleagues, you know, it was difficult for me at first to say, hi, Linda, instead of saying, good morning, Professor Burke. But it's wonderful to have them as colleagues now. And they still guide and direct my life. All of you do. You've made me the type of professor that I am, the type of student mentor that I am. I think it gives me a very unique perspective, having been on that side of the classroom to now be on this side of the classroom, to understand what it's like to be a community college student, that you've got 50 plates spinning at one time. You really want to give 100% of yourself here, but you don't have 100% of yourself available to give here because you've got the kids and the job and the spouse and the house and everything else. So trying to squeeze it in and do your best. I understand that. My very first semester teaching here, I was in the low building in room 241, and it was in that classroom that I took my very first sociology course with that's bad.
Full-time professor?
Yeah, John Crowley. Okay, we're going to edit this, right? John Crowley. And it was just so freaky that, my very first assignment here was in the same classroom where I sat, and I found myself looking at my seat from the front of the room, and imagining what Dr. Crowley felt, sitting here with a bunch of, new faces and not knowing where you're going with them. And it's where I found my inspiration, because up until that time, every class I took was going to be my major. I was an English major because I had Pat Sullivan, and I was a Spanish major because I had Linda Burke, and I was going to be going to humanities because of Georgia Reed, and then sociology, hit me between the eyes, and that was it. It was a way for me to do all of those things, through sociology,
Do you ever have a student who you kind of look at and say, gee, that was me 20 years ago?
Oh, definitely. Even this semester, I have a student, Mary Justine, who I look at him, and non-traditional age student, tons of things going on in the background, really wanted to give all, super excited and involved outside of the classroom, and I could say, wow, that's what, my professors saw in me. That's what I looked like when I went to Central, and Dr. Judy Cody said, oh, Lucy, I'm getting you ready for graduate school. And I could not, of course, my first year at Central, even envision that graduate school was in my future. But she said, I'm going to work you like you're getting ready for graduate school. And when I got to Ohio State, my first semester there, I called her, and I was like, thank because I was quite, well prepared because of how rigorously she worked me. She saw in me something that I didn't see, and I see in students now, and they, say, no, you have potential. You really do. You write well. Well, I can see the logic in where you're going with this. Or your passion and dedication is obvious. So it's nice to be able to see that, I can keep that kind of circle of life, going educationally. And I have students come back to me. It's sad to say that I'm old enough that I've had students that have graduated and gone on and graduated, and they come back to me. And they say, oh, it's because of you. I went out to Bowling Green in Ohio to watch one of my students, Emmanuel Giebbi, graduate with his degree in sociology. And to know that I'm making sociology students at an institution that doesn't have sociology as a major is, quite the accolade. And I've been to about 5 graduations for students that have left here and gone on to their bachelor's degree. So it's nice to know.
What gives you the greatest satisfaction as a teacher?
That I make the light bulb go off in people's eyes. People go through the motions. Like I always tell my students, you've been ruined by a good American education that teaches you to give an answer, the right answer, the only answer. And I try and break that pattern when I get students and let them know that there's life outside the box. There are more than one answer, more than one set of answers to any given question. And I make them thinkers. I make them civically responsible. I make them see the world beyond the street that they live on, in the little tiny Connecticut town that they're in, this little tiny East Coast state that they live in. And I make them know that they can reach their hand out and make a difference in the world. And we do that in an extremely applied way. With the courses that I teach. So it's nice if you can, resuscitate what year the Communist Manifesto was written, but you know what? That doesn't change the world. So you've got to see the world, you've got to feel obligated to the world, and you've got to know that even in some small way, you can reach your hand out there and touch the world and make a difference. And it doesn't matter if it's us going to New Orleans, as we've done for years, to work for Habitat for Humanity, or if we're working at Manchester Area Council of Churches handing out food. That there's something that we can do that makes the world a better place, bigger and beyond our individual self.
You mentioned Habitat Project in New Orleans. Could you talk a little more about that?
We are the only community college in the state of Connecticut, the first and still the only community college to have a campus chapter of Habitat for Humanity. We have raised funds, done our fundraising, and made 4 trips to New Orleans to the lower Ninth Ward, staying at Camp Hope, to work for Habitat for Humanity. To date, we've built 8 houses, so we've affected several hundred lives in the state of New Orleans. We've worked with, it's been marvelous for the students in that they've lived at Camp Hope, they've worked with volunteers from other states, from other organizations, so they've had that broader exposure, and they've seen what they can do, that they can have an effect on a national issue, for a national problem. Locally, we work for the Hartford Area Habitat for Humanity, and we do several work dates there. We work against issues of social injustice in general as a group of students, and we work specifically against issues of hunger, homelessness, and general poverty. So we work very closely and distinctly with Habitat for Humanity. We work with Food Share in Hartford, and we work with any nonprofit agency in the greater Hartford area. So we've got students out in the field doing work, representing the college, and then they find this passion in themselves, and they find this strength and ability, and they continue beyond the requisite 15-week semester dictate that they were given.
Now, I know you've also been involved in some projects to call attention to homelessness in the state, particularly thinking about the
Cardboard City.
Could you talk about that?
People tend to think that if they don't see a problem, it doesn't exist, or people are limited by their mobility to seeing broader, bigger problems. They also think that the way that they live is the way that most of the world lives. So we try and just bring awareness to the fact that we live in the richest state in the country, with the highest per capita income in the country, and that even here in Connecticut we have people that die from exposure, people that don't have adequate food, clothing, and shelter, basic human rights issues. And so to raise awareness for that, we try every semester to build a cardboard city and to spend 24 hours living in that city without electronics, so their cell phones, their iPads, their computers, they're not allowed. We do have the one benefit of having access to bathrooms, which most homeless people have a difficult time with, just that basic issue. So we have access to the bathrooms here on campus, and we do have access to some reasonable amount of food that they can bring with them. But we spend 24 hours living on the front lawn of Manchester Community College in front of the Art, Science, and Technology building, building our houses out of cardboard and living in them regardless of the weather or the temperature or whatever, for 24 hours, passing out pamphlets. We have speakers come in from Habitat for Humanity. We've had some formerly homeless people that are now Habitat homeowners come in and speak about the process. And we keep it going, making collections, doing advocacy, and doing information spreading and awareness for that 24 hours. And it's been quite an eye-opener for these students, because they really get to sit back and do some reflection work on, well, this is difficult for me for 24 hours, and I'm counting down the hours until I can go home and take a hot shower, have a meal, get in my bed, plug in my iPod, and they really start to think about, what if I had to do this for more than 24 hours? What if this wasn't just a day, but this was an endless way of life for me? So we have readings around it, we watch videos around it in preparation for the event, and then we do a post-reflection journal writing that we do as a kind of a montage.
Now, you mentioned some of the teachers who were instrumental in your growth as a student. Can you talk about some of your colleagues who have had an impact on the development of your career here?
Wow. I've been blessed to, I think, have worked with some of the best people in the system here who understand what I'm about and contribute and support and assist me with the work that we all collectively try and do with our students. I work in, the social science and hospitality division, and they're socially conscious people in each of their respective fields. I work across division lines, so I work with Kwasan Yang with his conference every year. I presented at his history conference that he does about Connecticut. I work with Eileen Fury in disabilities, and she comes in and we kind of share and swap and share a class when we talk about issues of discrimination and genetics. So, I try and work with other faculty members, bringing what I have to offer to their classes and allowing them to show my students the interdisciplinary nature of learning. Wanda Haynes in the English department, and I have co-taught African Americans in sociology and literature, which was a fun adventure. Again, understanding populations that are different from yourself. So people in history, Valerie Wilson in geography, doing issues on demography, about how people move and come and bring their culture with them, and what the implications are looking down the road for what the populations of certain geographic areas are. These are all different ways of, just turning that spectrum a little bit for students to understand the depth and breadth of sociology and how we work together as colleagues. So anything from, Beth Reichert in early childhood education and studying education cross-culturally to working with the veterans, with Bobby Fox. All of these are ways that we bring a broader, more intellectual examination to the topic of sociology.
You've talked about a number of projects with colleagues from different departments. Do you think the fact that at MCC you're encouraged to cross-disciplinary lines has been a beneficial situation? It's
been. We're blessed that we've got division directors and administrators that see the benefit to doing a diverse and thorough amount of education, and that means crossing lines and showing things in 3 dimensionals that can include different areas of the college. So by doing service learning, and we incorporate that in all of our sociology classes, taking what you're learning academically, taking it out into the field to practice, to examine, to critique, and then bringing it down to that 3rd intersection of reflection through journal work and presentations and portfolios is another way of making everybody's subject more applied and 3-dimensional. And can lead to internships and stuff, where it makes you at least aware of how active and vibrant the area that you're studying is in the real world. So in addition to sociology, we've worked with culinary arts. In years past, we've provided them with access to schools where the culinary students can work with people within the cafeteria system at certain inner city schools to provide a consistent and calorically healthy, balanced meal menu. So there are lots of different ways that through service learning we work as buddies across division lines.
I mean, at some point, and it may not be for a decade or more, you will retire. What do you want your legacy to be in terms of MCC?
My plan is to go out feet first, okay? Because unlike a physical job, I'm hoping that short of Alzheimer's, there's nothing that's going to stop me from teaching for the rest of my life. I spent the first, portion of my life working in data processing and really going through the motions of being a data processing person and knowing that that's not where I was supposed to be. And I found out shortly after starting teaching that, this is the gig. This is what I was meant to do. And what I would like my legacy to be is in that I've impacted, enough students that each one gets to teach one, that I create a vibrant force of socially conscious people that go out there and understand that teaching is more than about memorization and regurgitation. It's more than the measurement of you of being successful based on the score of your test, but the impact and control that you can have for saving and providing a better world. I would like that to be my legacy, to know that you have to get out of the classroom and off of the campus to get a good and thorough education.
Can you describe some of the changes you've seen here at the college in the last 2 decades?
Well, physically, we've got much more to work with. We are a technologically cutting-edge campus. When I started here, we had the low building, and we had what we used to affectionately call Shantytown, the lower campus buildings. And now we've got, the best technology that you could use in providing for a cutting-edge educational experience. I brought the online teaching of classes to the Sociology department, and now we can provide people with education wherever they're at. I've had students that have had to leave campus because they are called up to military service. And I've got students in my online class right now that are who knows where in the world doing their online classes. So we've got the technology to be able to do hybrid classes. I'm taking lectures and going with podcasts so that we can provide an education to people that physically can't get to the campus or economically or environmentally choose not to come to the campus, and they can take their classes from wherever they're at. So we've got that technology. We've also got more collaborative learning going on across divisions and more outside resources from the professional and people in the field that our students are being exposed to. We've got students actually in internships and working with professionals at the Congressional Office Building through the political science initiatives that Angela Masuri has set forward. So all of us, I think, are exploring new and different ways that we can bring the most high-tech and cutting-edge education to a workforce in the future.
You've been in the forefront among faculty members in terms of teaching distance learning courses. Do those work well in your discipline?
In sociology, they do, and only to a certain degree. They're not for everyone. I think we need to do a really fine job in counseling students as to what is required of them for an online course, what dedication and structure it takes for you to do it. It's not just, I don't want to get dressed and leave the house today. I'm going to do online classes this semester. It really takes a serious measure of commitment and dedication to be able to do it and do it successfully. What I've been tracking is that there's the same measure of success and failure in an on-ground class as there is in an online class. So methodologically, it's got to be right for the teacher to do, and it's got to be right for the student. So I think that's the most important match.
Well, those are the questions that I had. Is there anything that you want to say or anything we have not yet covered?
I think I would just like to make some mention of the fact that I'm a firm believer in lifelong learning, and that you're done learning when you die, okay? And until then, you've got plenty of time to start. I did not start my very first college course until I was 31 years old. I graduated high school at 16 and went to work. And at 31, I started at Manchester Community College with my very first English class, and look at me now. So I tell students, that are of non-traditional age that come into my classes and they feel a little odd, they feel a little uncomfortable. And I say, oh no, you bring with you a world of lived experiences to hang your hat on and to share, because you've got this diverse classroom at the community college that you don't have at a traditional institution, where you've got learning going on also among and between the students. So I just like the idea of knowing that it's never too late to stop, it's never to start, it's never too late to try something different, and that the community college provides that environment specifically for that task.
Very good. Anything we've neglected?
No, she's covered it inside and out. Very good job.
Thank you.